Welcome guys, this is Ola from Stop Neo channel, back with another Life is Strange 2 theory video. It's not exactly theory, it's a very specific type of a video. I don't think you'll find a video like this one anywhere on YouTube. I could be wrong, but no, not like this one. I hope you'll find it interesting, although initially you might find it a bit dull, but I don't know. I hope you'll find it as exciting as I did. I tried to make it sound attractive, so you'll enjoy the video. Yeah, give it a chance please. Before I start, let me briefly remind you there are various links in the description for like social media, Discord server and Patreon. Thanks so much. So to start with, for those of you who don't know, I'd actually like to tell you that I am a lawyer on a daily basis, with my daily job. I'm currently working in a criminal division, so I'm working with criminal law on a daily basis. So yeah, I hope this will make this video just a little bit more credible.
Oh, sweetheart, you don't need law school. Law school's for people who are boring and ugly and serious.
Yeah, tough luck. What are you gonna do? So what I'm doing at my job, I try to recognize crime based on clues that were found on the crime scene, based on what people said, and I try to accurately describe what made us think that the person who was charged was actually guilty. Now don't get triggered, this is not a serious type of a video. Obviously I don't live in the US, so I'm not certain how law works over there. It's not the same law system. It's what you'd call a common law, one based on precedents, while in Europe, with the exception of the United Kingdom, we have a continental type of law. We actually have a criminal code describing all the crimes, we have a criminal procedure code, and so on. It works that way all over Europe and it's all written down. But having said that, I do believe that basic recognition of a crime and accurate charging would let the police and prosecution to believe someone did it or did not do it is quite universal all over the world. Logic rules apply here. So let's have some fun and let's try to accurately describe the situation that Shawn and Daniel are actually in. A legal situation from a lawyer's point of view. So yeah, yours truly. And let's try to defend them, if possible at all.
You sure you want to be known as the man that defended that murderer? Think about it. Why toss away a promising career?
Now the question is, what actually happened over there? Let's go back to that situation, let's describe it, let's go point by point and, action by action. Shawn was having a Skype conversation with Lila. Lila will be a witness number 1. Daniel was having fun on the front yard when he got in a fight with Brad. We're not sure what happened over there, but we do know Daniel put some fake blood all over Brad, hence Brad got just a little bit too aggressive. Brad is a witness number 2. Shawn heard something's up, told Lila something's going on and that he has to go outside. This is what Lila will tell the police most probably. She was talking to Shawn, he said something's up, then he rushed out of the room. I doubt she has any more knowledge than that. Her value as a witness is rather secondary in my opinion. On the outside, Shawn and Brad got in a fight. It was actually Shawn who hit Brad first. He was provoked, yes, but it doesn't matter all that much. I would say what Shawn did here at this point could be considered a battery, which is a specific common law misdemeanor, although the term is used more generally to refer to any unlawful offensive physical contact with another person. Now, I don't want to get into that because I don't practice in the States, so I can't be sure. At least where I live, Shawn could be charged with battery, if not for the fact that Brad actually hit him back. So it was your typical affray. Both Shawn and Brad could be charged, depending on the level of physical harm that was done to one or the other. Now we don't actually know what happened to Brad. He fell down and hit a rock. If that rock was not there, nothing would have happened. But it was there, and hitting it was the result of Shawn's actions, even though he was not aware of that rock placement, and he certainly did not mean to cause whatever it was that happened to Brad. These are probably circumstances in favor of Shawn. We do look at both sides of the situation. We try to see what the person actually meant, if they wanted to cause whatever happened. If it's something he could have seen coming, did he willingly cause it? I don't think Shawn meant to cause any real harm to Brad, although the fact is he probably did. We don't know what happened to Brad, as I mentioned before. Maybe nothing, best case scenario, or maybe he's paralyzed, which is a worst case scenario for Shawn. Unfortunately, Shawn did the worst thing he could have done. He ran away without giving himself a proper chance to explain the circumstances of those events. Now I get where he's coming from. He probably assumed no one would believe him. He was probably scared for Daniel as well, but still, leaving without saying a word is a signal to the police that something's up, that maybe he had a reason to run. It screams guilty. Now at this point, let me just say that I don't believe that all the policemen in the United States are the way that it was presented in the game, or that it is the way that media is trying to present it. I don't believe they're all racist assholes acting like the one we saw in the game. Sure, a lot of them are like that, but not all of them. I do believe there's plenty of fair policemen out there who try to actually get to the bottom of this situation and find out the truth. And I am certain prosecution would as well. At least where I live, it's not like the police and the prosecution are trying to charge a suspect. No, we're trying to get to the bottom of things and find the truth.
It is incumbent upon us lawyers not to just talk about the truth, but to actually seek it, to find it, to live it.
Unfortunately, I do have to say that if the police arrives at the crime scene, sees a policeman dead, which is a big trigger to mobilize the forces, sees a Hispanic man shot to death, sees a hurt boy and 2 Hispanic boys are gone, they will most probably assume the worst. But I do think it will still be hard to actually charge anyone with the death of Officer Matthews. Let's carry on. So what happened next? Policeman sees a fight from afar, arrives at the scene. At this point Brad is already down, covered in what we know is fake blood. Policeman believes it's either Shawn or Daniel who caused this, so he pulls out a gun and aims. I don't think he overreacted at this point. His priority was to help Brad, but to also make sure everyone is safe. We know that Shawn's innocent, but he doesn't know it at all. Neither Shawn nor Daniel carried any guns, but it did look like Brad was hurt. Perhaps with a gun, or like with any sort of a weapon that possibly one of them hid. We have to remember we're seeing the situation from the policeman's point of view, so it's not ours point of view. Now here's where it gets tricky. Shawn and Daniel were not aggressive in any way, nor did they seem dangerous. There were no guns inside, but Officer Matthews had to be sure. Up to this point, I do believe he was acting according to the book. It's later on when his behavior became unprofessional in my opinion. He didn't listen to any reason, he was not interested in what actually happened. He just assumed what happened and it just kept getting worse. When Esteban arrived, I'm fairly certain that Officer Matthews panicked. His behavior was excessive and not adequate to the situation anymore. Even if he assumed that blood was Brad's, there was no point at all aiming at people with a gun like a crazy person. Of course he had a right to do so, but Esteban was not a threat at this point. I do believe Officer Matthews let his image of Hispanic people cloud his judgment.
I set out to prove a black man could receive a fair trial in the South, that we are all equal in the eyes of the law. That's not the truth, because the eyes of the law are human eyes, yours and mine, and until we can see each other as equals, it will remain nothing more than a reflection of our own prejudices.
Now, here's where it gets even trickier. Policeman fired a gun. I don't think he meant to, but he still did it. Had he survived, he should have been charged with involuntary manslaughter. Not sure if that's the correct term. The thing is, he could surely foresee the result of his actions, given how he was aiming a loaded gun at an unarmed citizen. Involuntary manslaughter is the homicide of a human being without intent, either expressed or implied. It is distinguished from a voluntary manslaughter by the absence of intention. There is most probably a whole other level of liability when it comes to policemen. Did he have to shoot in order to protect himself or others? We know that he didn't, but it's not as important given the fact that seconds later that policeman died anyway. Now Esteban's cause of death is quite simple to establish because the bullet will match the policeman's gun, so there's that. Once Esteban was shot, Daniel's forces got triggered. Now I do have a whole powers theory which you can watch if you want, it's on my channel, now here's the link. Daniel's telekinesis forces got triggered. Policeman was thrown in the air with his force strong enough to turn over a car. Now we're finally getting to the bottom of things. Who will be responsible for the policeman's death? We know that involuntarily, but still it was somehow Daniel's fault. Daniel is a minor, he can't be charged. Where I live, you can be charged with the most serious crimes when you turn 15, but mostly 17 is the age you can be treated as an adult. Daniel's not nearly there, he's not even 10. Shawn, he's 18, he can be charged and treated as an adult, although he had nothing to do with the policeman's death, only with Brett's accident. Now, according to our knowledge at least, because both Shawn and Daniel left, there's no way for the police to know what actually happened. There's no other witnesses, according to my best knowledge. I actually checked this for Oregon specifically, and it turns out the age of a youth who comes within the jurisdiction of the state's juvenile courts is defined by the state law. In Oregon, no statute specifies the youngest age at which a youth can be adjudicated delinquent, which is a little alarming. Juvenile court has original jurisdiction over offenses alleged to have been committed prior to a child's 18th birthday. After age 18, the youth is charged in adult court. Now, I'm not certain about the difference between juvenile court and adult courts in the United States, but I suppose it's not as important right now. Now, once the forces arrive, here's what they're going to see. A dead policeman and a flipped over police car, which is highly unusual. Esteban shot to death and 2 boys missing. Brett, most probably still unconscious but alive, given the fact the news we saw in the hotel's room stated there are 2 victims, not 3. There is no witnesses to what happened, now none that we know of. Lila was on Skype, she only knew something's up, but not specifically. Brett was on the ground during this entire situation. Assuming he will tell the truth, the police will know there was a fight. There's also a possibility Brett may not tell the truth. Now, it would be quite obvious and quite usual, to be honest, for him to diminish his responsibility. Esteban's cause of death will be rather clear. He was shot by the policeman. Policeman's cause of death. Now that's a whole other story. I believe he died because of his fall. He was thrown in the air after all, and it can be seen on the video from his car. Now I believe that tape is actually the most important piece of evidence the police will get. You can see the policeman was thrown in the air. You can see a great force flipped over the car. You can probably hear what happened during that entire intervention. You can specifically see the time of Esteban's and the policeman's death, but you can't actually see the front yard. Now, the police will never assume it was actually some kind of a telekinesis force that caused all of this. They will try to explain it rationally. They will try to check the weather conditions that day. They might ask a specialist to try and establish what actually happened, if any anomalies happened that day in that place. They can assume there was a machine of a sort on that front yard, strong enough to flip over a car, although I can't imagine what kind of a machine that would be. Perhaps a giant fan, even though it does sound absurd. An autopsy will be held, and the cause of Officer Matthews' death will be most probably internal damage caused by his fall. It will be very difficult to figure it all out. Now, whoever's in charge of that investigation will have a very hard time, that I'm certain of. And the 2 boys are missing. The only witnesses to that situation are Shawn and Daniel. Even if they stayed, they would have a hard time telling and explaining the truth. They could clear out their father's name. Police might assume Officer Matthews had a reason to shoot Esteban. They'll try to clear out his name. Both Esteban and the policeman are dead. There's no one left to explain the situation. I feel like it's extremely important for both Shawn and Daniel to go back and tell everyone who's willing to listen there was no reason to shoot their father. It was all a misunderstanding. They might not be treated as what you'd call an objective witnesses, since they're related to Esteban Diaz, but they're the only witnesses left. Rationally speaking, there's nothing that could link Shawn and Daniel to Officer Matthews' death. They had no physical contact, his death was not related to a human's behavior or actions. There's no way at all to explain what actually happened there. Shawn and Daniel could say they don't know nor understand it, which I suppose would be true, assuming Daniel never had these powers before that day. And let's not forget about the crucial, most important rule of the criminal law, and that's innocent until proven guilty.
I believe in the notion that people are innocent until proven guilty.
It might sound like a cliche, but believe me, it is a functioning rule and I'm using it on a daily basis. Even if you want to charge someone, you need to present, at least where I live and work, the link between someone's death and someone else's behavior. You need to have proof, and in this case, I just don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to link Shawn and Daniel's behavior to what happened to that policeman. It's just not rational. It goes beyond the human's understanding. That's why I think Shawn and Daniel have to go back. If not for themselves, then to at least clear out Esteban's name and their own, to make the best out of this tragic situation. Now again, I know that it's hard for them to trust the authorities and to assume that the police won't be biased, especially because, as we all know, when a policeman dies, it mobilizes the forces to go after the suspect even harder. But running away is not a solution, not nearly a good one when it comes to a 9-year-old Daniel. There's nothing they can do that will make it any better, not by running away. They have to go back and explain things. And yeah, I believe this is like the best outcome of this game. For them to go back, explain it, and to have their father's name cleared. And their own. Okay, I hope I didn't bore you to death. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching and for listening. Let me know if you enjoyed that video, if you want me to record more videos similar to this one. I actually really enjoyed recording this and preparing for it and all of that. Now, again, don't get triggered. This is not a serious type of a video. This is more like we're having fun. Yeah, if you're a lawyer in the US, then I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Because obviously, I don't work there. I don't know how it works in the States. Practically speaking, I can only speak for myself and my job. Again, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, remember to hit a like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm playing Spooktober games these days. I posted a What Remains of Edith Finch on my channel, which I enjoyed playing a lot, so do check it out. And check out the links in the description, as I mentioned previously. Thank you so much for watching. This was Ola from Stop Me O channel. Stay safe, guys. Bye.
Every lawyer, at least once in every case, feels himself crossing a line he doesn't really mean to cross. It just happens. And if you cross it enough times, it disappears forever. And then you're nothing but another lawyer joke. Just another shark in the dirty water.